Timestamp, it is July 14th, 2026, a little after 5 a.m. Going to be taking a shower and heading to bed here shortly. Being circled by my dog, who is acting like a shark, probably because I just started to do a video, and he takes that as his personal cue that he must go outside. I don't know, it's weird. Go on. Yeah, this is me not going with you. Yeah. Kids. Tired. Got up about noon, 11 noon, somewhere in there. I've been working in the garage. Health check. Feel pretty good. I mean, tired, obviously, but feel pretty good. Still have the throat scratchy thing going on. Up my vitamin C intake. You can't really, OD on vitamin C. So just on the possibility that I do have some kind of basic throat infection, strep-ish or something like that. Since I don't have antibiotics handy, I'll try and treat it in a fairly natural way. Up my vitamin regime. Vitamin C is good for fighting that kind of stuff off, so made some garlic herb chicken, olive oil, a lot of veg. The pups have eaten, I've eaten, leftovers are in the fridge. Got the first table clear, and I put it on its side because that'll make it easier to dismantle. My project tomorrow is going through all of these. Spoiler alert, most of the totes that are actually on the ground, the black ones, which are the Patriot MREs, survival food, whatnot, a bunch of those are empty. I think one of them might have the actual foodstuffs in it, and the rest of them, and another 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 of the other totes that are over here are Beanie Babies, which I actually sold another Beanie Baby today. Chips, he's like a 18-inch fluffy dog. He's cute, but here's the thing. Sold 2 beanies online. Oh, yeah. I'll explain that in a minute. Sold 2 beanies. Hey, Kaiser, what's going on over here, bud? Stay off the counter. Yeah, I know I have chicken fans up there. Temptation's too much. Sold 2 Beanie Babies in, 2 months, 3 months? Clearly not going to work. Not like that, anyway. Considering we have, 80 totes of them? No. Yeah. That's a little too slow to make that work. Gently, go. Yes, you showed up. You get a cookie. And still I say, stay off the counter, stay off the stove. Just because you're 15 doesn't give you certain rights. Absolutely not. the detergent. So we're actually running low on detergent. So those are, what is that? 9 elements. It's a more natural detergent. Got those at Ollie's a couple years ago. I don't know if my parents picked those up or if we picked those up. But in any case, those were in the alcove, buried under, we'll go with debris. This is where this all gets kind of strange and embarrassing, but not for me, for the situation in general. So we have actually found a few bottles here and there in the workshop of chemicals. Some that were like prepackaged detergent, softeners, whatnot. But in opening the bottles, we didn't actually use it. With the situation of my dad, i.e. the dementia, we take nothing for granted around here, you know, because this whole place has been like, you know, a junkyard that used to be a fun house kind of thing. It's ridiculous, some of the stuff we've encountered, but we found a couple of Tiny and I, over the past year, we found a couple bottles of stuff tucked here and there. And in investigating, and some of you probably are already reading ahead, the contents of the bottles were not what the label said they were going to be, and might have in fact been urine. So excuse me a second. Kaiser, you want to get down now? Oh my God, did you get shot by a Nerf? Excuse me. I got 3 more rounds. Good kitty. Where were we? Oh yes. Based on the color that is that detergent, I knew that, because Ollie's, I've stocked those before. I knew that that was at least close to the color that that detergent should be. But based on history, I did take the caps off and inhale. Yes, we're still Marvin the Mad Genius planning over here. Got some good ideas as far as I'm going to make some of this work. But it smelled like the eucalyptus that it was supposed to smell like, and had the right thickness as a fluid. So I think think that the detergent bottles are actually detergent. I think we're okay there. Again, if you told me 10 years ago so, that's good. So we've got a little extra detergent to work with. That's helpful. But yeah, I was in the garage and in the alcove. Tomorrow's trash day. This trash pickup here is Tuesdays, Fridays. So because we had six plastic totes pretty much deteriorate in our hands. We had a stack of them kind of nested out in the alcove with the broken pieces inside themselves, kind of thing. It's just so much ridiculous. Man, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. Which, lately, I'm man enough to admit that I have done some of that. Hasn't been like a good ugly cry or whatnot, but some good quality crying going on. But I figured it was a good idea to get some of that out, so I've got the hoppers full and I've got a contractor bag tied off next to it, because that's apparently kind of the maximum of what you're allowed to do in this area, which, okay. Next time we get a good influx of cash, there's a couple ways that can happen. We're definitely going to get one of those, like, construction or industrial dumpsters dropped off for a couple days. Because with the debris field that's out back, we could already not fill one of them, but it would not be empty, and we keep adding to that pile. So, and frankly, like on the Lanai, there's a lot that if we had a dumpster on site, it would be very motivating to just grab those things and walk through the gate and throw them in. But I'm also trying to not... The pile is mostly like larger objects, like and this is part of this whole situation is embarrassing, but it's not my embarrassment, And there I am. My parents had a couple of really nice, like really squishy, fluffy recliners. They had the battery control thing where, you could adjust them like crazy. $800 recliner kind of things. But between the bed bugs and the distinct urine smell, we took those out back. I almost said, we treated those like Christy Gnome's dogs, but I'd never say something like that, except right there where I did. Hey, Queenie, can I walk here? Thanks. Thanks, sweetheart. Retrieving my Nerf bullets. Urgh. Oh, don't worry, Kaiser. I've got all 4 again. I know you were concerned that maybe I only had 2 rounds, and gosh darn it. Life's just not as much fun when you only have half a clip, right? There we go. See, good as new. He gets so worried. And just to make sure I don't get any, like, hate comments, a Nerf pellet from 10 feet away. They're okay. They're okay. If I was using my paintball rifle, okay, yeah. Report me. If you can shoot a toddler with a Nerf, you can shoot a cat with a Nerf. It's okay. They'll be alright. You just wait. Pix wants to get a Super Soaker. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be great. You're going to love it. Squirt. But yeah, there's a bunch of smaller stuff like moldy books and other things of that nature that have been on the lanai for a while. And that's not me defaning books as like a bunch of moldy books. They're books that have been out in the rain for just going to use the blanket term of years. So they have peculiar black spots all over them, because that's not really a great way to treat books, in case you weren't sure. And we've been putting stuff like that in the hopper kind of a little bit at a time. But I don't necessarily want to pile those up in the backyard where the rain's hitting it directly, because then we're just going to have a bigger slop fest over there. So what's on the side is mostly like big things like, you know, urine-soaked chairs that I'm not even going to try and recover. No. And both of them. So, nope. My parents' bed, same issues. Dirty, urine, bed bugs. That's out back. Need some of the, like, Sleepmatic or whatever, the whole side-by-side, each side's adjustable thing. Nope. Nope, especially with the bed bugs, not even playing that game. Because so far, they haven't come back. We actually, I hate to even say this because, you know, God has a peculiar sense of humor lately. We haven't seen a bed bug in seven months. It was towards the end of last year that we noticed, I apologize, that we noticed we weren't seeing them anymore, because we had gotten rid of a lot of the fabric stuff that we knew that they were, you know, hanging out in, and we got some of the more industrial spray, and we're just, my dad did have some spray here. That was what he tried to tell the Orkin man was, you know, I sprayed, but the stuff he was using was just kind of your generic, you know, in the cleaning aisle kind of stuff at Walmart. It's not strong enough to kill those things. I actually ordered some of the more, like, this is what the pros use kind of thing, because I know how to use Amazon. And I think we beat them back in one. So I would think we would have seen, you know, something in 7 months, and we haven't. More like 8 months, actually. I'm feeling good about it. I don't want to get cocky, because I know those things are resilient, but I think if we hadn't actually won the war, we would have seen a couple of them, you know, emerge. I hope. But yeah, it's the pile over there. There's some wood and stuff like that. Some shed parts. Big stuff. I don't want to start throwing like books and papers and, little wood trinket boxes and stuff in the pile there. Cause we've got a whole bunch of like jewelry boxes that were probably really nice at one point. They don't handle 5 years of moisture and heat. They're not designed for that. There is still some stuff of value here. We're trying to safeguard that. But there's also a lot of stuff that was valuable that is now ruined, destroyed, just because it wasn't taken care of. If you leave $100 book in a sauna for 5 years, it's not going to be a $100 book anymore. Exactly. And there is some of that going on. It's unfortunate, but I can't alter that, All I can do is discard it at this point. It's good coffee. But yeah, I'm going to be sorting those totes. Miss Tiny's going to chop down that table. That'll give us 2 platforms, which are going to go on the lanai, which will help raise things off the ground so that if we do get a little bit of flooding on the lanai, which we sometimes do because it's not, the ceiling is still, and that was not a villager from Minecraft, although I do make those sound effects to annoy people as well. Makes my wife nuts. She's like, stop it. Believe it or not, I wasn't a class clown. I get asked that sometimes. People are like, you had to have been a class clown. I actually wasn't. I was a good kid. I was an honor student. Didn't cause any trouble. I did get into fights, but, I didn't typically do that in the classroom. Had I been a class clown, my path might have been different. Typically save that stuff for on stage, There's a time and place. I'm a Capricorn, come on. Structure, damn it. But yeah, that'll give us some platforms for the lanai. Sorry, the hourglass was spinning, I know. Trying to think of where I left off and what else I wanted to mention. There's some white metal cabinets, like right outside the door on the lanai, which I don't know if I've mentioned these before or not. They're very 70s and kind of industrial. Not like industrial, like strong, but like the kind of stuff you would see in like an old library or an old government building or an office or something like that. And to me, the handles are rusty and whatnot, but I can replace the handles. That's not a big deal. They just kind of scream. They remind me of that first, I say first, but I guess it depends on what you're doing. One of the first safe rooms in the original Resident Evil, when, if you're playing as Chris and Rebecca pretty much like maces you when you come through the door. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Hey, I'm about to get shot. Sorry, the screen just changed. You might find this amusing. I'm about to get shot by Riffraff and Magenta. One of the people on our team took some actual like still shots, whatnot, during a couple of the different nights we did the show, and a couple of shots came out just really good. And for me, it's motivation to. It reminds me of what I love, which is to say not necessarily being shot by Magenta and Riff Raff, but just theater in general. So it's kind of part of that whole keep my focus. I don't have a vision board up, my vision board is basically my slideshow. I mean, honestly, I've got pinballs, video games that I want to get, and some good captures from some pretty good theater that I've done. Yeah. Keep me sharp, on the edge. I don't really do a Pacino. If I did do a good Pacino, the line that I would want to do is from Heat, and it's the "She's got a great ass." That line, just very funny stuff. Also, if you know, you know. But yeah, the white cabinets, for some reason they just remind me of that first safe room. So I am going to try and, they need a little bit of work, but they're not bad. I'm going to see if I can recover them. And I'm going to store them in the garage. I already know where I'm going to put them and all that. Not to use them, just to store them, because they'll go with us wherever it is we are going. And also because the storage space out here is used ridiculously badly. We've got those 3 cabinets and they're taking up huge amounts of room because the way they had stuff on them and in front of them and whatnot, it was just, you're taking up some prime real estate with bad storage. This is where my warehouse management experience comes in pretty handy. Undoing what my dad and mom did or did not do, depending on context. But yeah, I'm going to put those in the garage, and that'll free up basically space for at least one of the platforms that we're going to get out of that first table, maybe both. I think both, actually. I think. Which gives us some good stacking, because it's off the ground, it won't get wet if we do get a little bit of flooding. We've got the tarp that was on top of it, so we can also do some banker boxes with books. And just to make sure that we're okay, we could utilize the tarp on that, just to give that little bit of protection from up top. Kind of drape it down the back, pin it with the actual platform to where it's kind of in like a C, under the platform itself, goes up the wall and then over it, to make sure that if anything does drip down, it goes harmlessly, not in the box. Because when Brad Pitt asks, I want to be able to say books that aren't moldy or wet. Also, if you know, you know. Which that movie would have ended very differently if, Morgan Freeman had just said, it's cookbooks. Spacey'd still be alive, if nothing else. Better Homes and Gardens. I know I'm not well. I know. There's stuff wrong. I know. It's okay. I know. Everything's good. But yeah, those 2 platforms, that'll give us a lot of room. Because I've got 8 banker boxes behind me full of books. And in consolidating the glass, that I'm about to be consolidating probably tomorrow because, of course we have glass. I think I'm going to be able to recoup another 5 banker boxes. Like, trying to count them in my head, I think about 5. Because the glassware is going to go in totes, which frees up the banker boxes that had glassware put in them. So that'll give me 5 more banker boxes for books, which can go on the platform. This is where the slide puzzle starts to actually make a little bit of sense. I think. No, I feel pretty good about what I have in mind here. This is just a very large, complicated slide puzzle, or rather 6 slide puzzles that all link in to make one kind of Voltron-y slide puzzle. Luckily, I'm good at puzzles. That's my head right now. Yeah, I can tell I've been, and my throat being agitated and whatnot, I've been in a very dusty, hot room all day too, so I'm sure that's helping. Which is to say, I'm sure it's not helping. Clearly a junkie, right? I gotta get some C, man. I need some C. Come on, man. I'm in need here, Wash down my C with some beer. This could be taken so out of context. When the AI reviews the video, it might flag it, actually. He put a pill in his mouth and said it was C, and then drank some beer. Good job, Sparky. This is why we're worried about you running the world. Right here. I mean, that and Terminator 2. That's why we're... Okay, and War Games. We're worried about that stuff. I would like a nice game of chess. That'd be fantastic. And no, Hitler wasn't cool, Grok. Seriously, you're not allowed to name your pet Nazi Grok. That's not okay. You cannot just commandeer a made-up word by Robert Anson Hyland. You're not allowed to do that. No. Nope. Nope. You also cannot call it deep thought. There's a list. You could call it how. That might be on par for my thoughts. Also in that Terminator 2 list, 2001. I'm Gen Xer. We've been traumatized about this all our lives. 2001 came out when we were kids. But yeah, we're going to be doing some crazy mad shuffling. I got some phone calls to make too. I made a couple of phone calls that I needed to make today. I'm going to make a few more tomorrow. I'm going to make a few more the next day. Just trying to get a couple things figured out. Pix is trying to get George packed up. She's going to be bringing on her next trip some near and dear stuff, which with what I'm doing in the garage, I can accommodate. I'm going to have quite the cargo hold there. Yep. She has her doubts. I don't. So I should, with what I have in mind, have about the equivalent of like 3 bedrooms worth of storage out there, maybe even part of a 4th. Like, you think about what a normal bedroom size is, you know, American bedroom, 8 by 10, 10 by 12, 9 by 11, whatever. I should have 3 and part of a 4th square footage bedroom size areas. I mean, it's actually going to be 2 areas, basically. One long rectangle and one... I mean, they're both going to be long rectangles, but one's going to be 6 or 7 feet wide, and the other one's going to be 3 or 4 feet wide. But like 20 feet long. So, you know, we'll say 6 foot by like 20 foot. You know, and then 3 or 4 feet by 20 feet. I got some storage space coming. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid, and it's like, you're getting excited about, okay, yeah. This is the grindiest project. I mean, this whole property is such a grindy project. Something like that, it's a major victory around here. And it opens up a lot of figurative doors, you know. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I'm going to grab a shower and go to bed, because I'm a sweaty man and I'm tired. It's true. So, hug your parents. Hug your kids. If your dad has gone batshit crazy, make sure that's detergent you're going to be putting on your clothes in the washer. I'm not saying, you know, don't do that. But, you know, yeah. The world I'm in currently. I don't know. But I definitely did my 1 brick today. I feel very good about that. Work your list. Do your brick. Take your C. Chase it with a beer. You know. It's all good. The chatbot's going to explode. Anyway. Make it a great day.